Hey everybody, how's it going? It's your friend Chase here. Welcome to Creative Live TV. You might be joining from Facebook or from YouTube. We're streaming live to a handful of places, but if you're not, or if you have not yet visited creativelive.com/TV, you want to go there right now. And if you're already there, welcome. And if you want to participate in the chat, up in the upper right-hand corner, click live chat. I get to see that kind of stuff. We got a handful of friends watching the chat feed. If you got any questions, we'll put some links and whatnot in there as the conversation with my next guest evolves. Speaking of guests, longtime friend, very, very excited. He is an American musician, was the lead singer of the alternative rock group, The Presidents of the United States of America. 6 studio albums, 22 years, millions of records sold, hits like Lump, She's Lump, and Peaches. And he now performs as a children's artist under the pseudonym Caspar Babypants. Got a new album dropping today. We get to hear from him. If you've got kids, when we start to get the performance underway, you're going to want to bring them over to the screen. We will make sure everything's PG. But without further ado, my guest, the inimitable one and only Mr. Chris Ballew.
What's up, Chase? Hey, I was just playing my own music there, you know. I'm kind of a control freak about the intro music, so I have to play my own.
Yeah, some people choose walk-on music, and you just play your own.
I'm just like, ladies and gentlemen, live from New York City, it's the Chris Ballew Show. Woo! Thank you. My guest tonight is Chase Jarvis. Chase, it seems like you have a live streaming show going on here. Tell me about that.
Well, it's true. In mid-March, we started going, just instead of recording from our studios in Creative Live, we started going live to the houses, the studios, the kitchen counters, and the couches of those creators in our community who are doing fun and interesting things, from cooking to crafting to music. We've been exploring this on a thing we're calling Creative Live TV. And you, speaking of, I'm just going to have to flip this. You're the guest on this show today. Ta-da!
Oh, okay.
Chris, it's been a while since we've chatted. We were catching up right before we started, before we went live. The goal for today, if I'm going to lay out a plan for the people who are tuning in from all over the world, we've got every corner of the globe joining right now. New Zealand, I see some more Scandinavia. Italy is waving. Of course, Tennessee. We got a handful of folks coming in from all over the world.
Wow.
But we're going to have a little conversation, and we're going to hear some tracks off the new album.
Yes.
And normally when people say they got the new album, like they're searching all over like MTV. That was a lifetime ago for you. You've completely reinvented yourself from the alt-rock musician that was on MTV with that video that played over and over. I've probably seen it 10,000 times. And now you're performing for children. Talk to us about the transition from a rock star in one world to a rock star in another.
Well, it's funny because it's not a conscious decision, really. It was more the result of a lifelong search. I don't know where I got this idea, but I've always had this idea that I want to, number one, really know myself, and number two, make music that was absolutely transparent as far as who I really am being expressed in the music. I got close with the Presidents, but there was an aspect to that experience that was this was where, the songwriting really worked when the theme was kind of innocent, but it also was a little not innocent. And so that friction kind of made that band go. And I was never that comfortable with the not that innocent part, the sort of adult humor part. And I love the innocent core. And I, at the time, couldn't really see that was really who I was because I didn't really know myself well enough. So over time, instead of it being a transition really or a decision, it was really the result of this search to find this tone of music that I could make that really represented me. And it wasn't until I really discovered that at my core, I'm very much a child. I'm childlike. I see the world through the eyes of a beginner. And I love the energy of a 1, 2, 3, 4-year-old kid where they're just like absorbing the whole world and they know the parts, but they don't know how they fit together. So they'll do weird things like put wheels on an elephant, and that's just the way the world works for them. So anyway, once I had discovered that I really swim in those waters, then the musical expression that I was looking for kind of popped out because I figured out who I was. So it was really like a cart before, or a horse before the cart kind of thing. And so it found me. I less than found it, it found me. And I knew I had it right because I still know I had it right because I've got my 17th record coming out today and no end in sight. So
17 records.
Yeah, and really, I mean, it's not like I'm just putting out whatever comes off the top of my head. I am working my booty off to make these records solid, and and there's 20 songs ish on each record, so they're chock full of stuff. And yeah, it's evidence that I found the path, and so that's kind of how that transition went.
Well, speaking of path, you have landed in an interesting place. Where are you right now? It looks like you're in a ye old bookstore, or
well, those are all CDs. This
Amazing.
is like where I store my back stock, and that's not. I mean, I've pared it down to the like best sellers because I can't fit 1,000 copies of. I can't fit 17,000 records in this studio. But yeah, I'm in my recording studio out in the backyard of my house. It's a little shack that I built with my own bare little hands. I read the Jack Kerouac book, Dharma Bums, and in it they went to visit a kind of a guru dude who built all of his own little shacks on a hillside. And that's right. And in that book, that I can't remember that guy's name, but he said, you got to build the place you're creative yourself. Or if you can, do it because it influences how you are in the space, I guess.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. And when it came time to make a new studio, I was like, I want to build it. So I actually hired a guy that knew how to build things. And I worked with him, and he told me what to do. He's like, now do that, cut that, put that over there, nail that. And I was like, okay, I did it, but I needed somebody to, point. So yeah, it's my little shacky shack.
Well, for those of you just joining us, I'm sitting here. I'm Chase Jarvis, and I'm sitting with the one and only Mr. Chris Ballew, former president of the United States of America, now Caspar Babypants. We heard a little bit about your transition, and we know that you're in your recording studio right now. But walk us through what your creative process has been. Obviously, we're doing this remote. You were in Seattle. I'm in Seattle. You've been on my podcast, the Chase Jarvis Live Show on Creative Live before in the studio, and that was, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. But here we are just maybe a couple of miles apart, and yet, we're doing this remote because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And when you shared about building the place that you're creating in right now, it made me want to understand what your creative process was like before and what it's now. And is there any difference for you?
Yeah, well, so the way I work is I always record every idea. Even if I sit down at a piano or pick up a guitar and I play something that seems completely irrelevant to what I'm currently doing, I record it anyway, because what I found over time is that, like, as I'm doing the Caspar thing and I look back over the president's era and pre-presidents and even when I was a kid, and I look at all these little fragments that I've collected, I'm plucking little ideas out of those pools of fragments that were moments of Caspar Babypants existing that I didn't recognize. So I'll pick a song from like 1982 that if I just wipe the lyrics and kind of change the theme a little bit, it was trying to be that version of me, but I didn't know that version existed yet. So that's how I work. I work on this giant pool. I don't edit myself or censor myself at all, because in the future, it may become a new voice that I can't imagine yet, but I'm getting a glimpse of. So there's this giant pool, and they're all getting worked into different stages of being finished. I'll pluck an old song out, and then I'll demo it, and it goes in this pile of demos that aren't, developed. And then out of that pile of demos, I'll pluck a few and then, really work on the lyrics and hone them. And then I'll pluck a few more out of there and record them in the studio. So I'm always working on this giant pool. And then when it's time to make a record, I come in and I just like scrape the cream off the top. I just take all the best ones. And if any of them kind of make me feel like, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong, or I get a gut feeling that it's not exactly right, even though I played a great guitar solo, and, your ego takes over and it's like, I want everyone to hear my guitar solo, but the song is not there. I have to negotiate with my own ego and say, nope, gotta wait. And every time I do that, it turns out to be the right decision. It's either in the wrong key or it's the wrong tempo, or like I had my younger brother come in and help me with a bunch of songs that were in disrepair, and he's a really good writer, and he would look at the lyrics and look at the story and help me, discover that, oh, wait a minute, the perspective is wrong. It should be from the perspective of the elephant, not the worm, or whatever. So anyway, that's kind of the main thing, and that's kind of the main thing I'd love people to think about when they're being creative is like, you may be feeling an urge to do something that's outside your comfort zone, but do it anyway, because that may be a future you popping up and having a moment of clarity. So now
has that changed now that we're in this different world?
Yeah, well, what's funny is this different world situation really weirdly coincided with me kind of finishing the Caspar creative arc. So I have this new record, Bug Out, which came out today, and then I have 2 more full-length albums and a 4-song EP recorded and done. So I had this massive explosion of energy and focus right before the shelter-in-place order came out, and I finished all this music. And so now I'm kind of like floating and trying to just be okay with floating. I'm not trying to organize ideas or work toward a goal or anything. I'm just picking up a guitar and playing. And that is a really valuable thing too that people should do, is just play. Just, play with your craft. Don't always be working toward a goal, because sometimes when you just open up and play, that's when that future self pops up and you get something that you might not expect. So that's what I'm doing. And I've had this happen throughout my life a few times. There's been hills and valleys. I had a 3-year period once where I couldn't write a single song. I just played. I just made noise, did avant-garde, weird 4-track stuff, anything to keep my hands moving. So now I just come out and I sit at my piano and I play Moon River for an hour and because it makes me happy and it makes me feel good. So yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm kind of on pause, but I'm enjoying being on pause.
Well, thank you for helping us reconcile with that, because I know so many people right now, like there's part of the population that wants to talk about, God, this is such a great reset, needed it creatively, I was in a rut. And there's so many other folks who are like, I need to be so productive right now. This is a time where I need to, and yours is the first where I've heard saying, just be, there's a listening component to creativity. And there's you notice you didn't say listening by sitting on the couch and waiting for brilliant ideas, because where are you right now? When I join the conversation here via Skype, our remote connection, you're playing your piano. Exactly.
I know, those little jazzy. And when I was a kid, I used to do that for hours. Me and my brother both would sit at the piano and just riff for hours and hours. I mean, it's something I've always done. It's just a gear that fortunately I've come to see as not a weakness, but more an opportunity.
I want to pry at that for a second. I remember loving this part of our conversation where we treaded into these waters, and I replayed that before our conversation today. And I was so inspired by the process that you have for going back into your material and working and reworking. And I think a lot of folks in a digital world will scrap something because it's so easy to create, and like, well, that's garbage. That's just a little thing. It's just a riff. But as you said earlier, you're saving all of these. What's fascinating to me is your process for being able to revisit them. Can you share that with us again? I remember being so inspired by that, because we got great ideas, but we often just let them flutter away.
Yeah, that's true. And that's okay. I mean, that happens. But like, say, on the new record, Bug Out, there's a song called Termite. It's the 3rd song. And this is what I usually do is I have in iTunes, I have this category called raw poo. And raw poo is the signifier that this is just a, handheld tape deck or into the phone or just a little fragment that's never been developed. And I'll tell iTunes to search on raw poo, and I'll get this big playlist, and I'll just hit random. and do the dishes or clean the house or, do paperwork, do something else, and wait for something to grab me, So I'm not like squinting at every little sound I hear, like, well, what's, what can I do with that? It's more of a relaxed sort of background music kind of thing where I wait for it to grab me. And if it grabs me, it's probably going to grab someone else. So I was listening, and there's this little, like, I had this little drum way back in the early 90s called a doombek. It's this drum where you can play the top and you can put your hand inside it and change the tone. And this little like do 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 kind of beat came on, and I just imagined like an army of termites walking across, toward my house, like ready to eat the house. And I was just like, termite, dun, 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 dun. So the music kind of just spoke to me, and all of a sudden I saw something, and then I'm off and running once I see a vision, because then I can just describe it, and that's how I write songs. So yeah, it's really about this kind of letting the music grab me. And Lump, our big hit Lump, was written that way. I had a little dictaphone tape deck, and at the time I didn't have them organized, in a digital format, but I had these little micro cassettes full of sketches, and I was cleaning up my room and bopping around the house, and I put this little micro cassette player into an amplifier and blasted it, and there was my voice going, she's Lump, she's in my head. There were no verses, but it was the chorus, and I stopped what I was doing and went, that's kind of cool. And
I think 5 million people might like that.
Yeah, I have no memory of actually writing that, but it was my voice on my little, it was me, obviously, but, it was a fragment that I could have easily just tossed off, but it grabbed me later, and I made it into a song, and blah, 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 so you never know. Sometimes those little fragments have that kind of power in them.
Well, speaking of a fragment turning into a powerful song, I do want to play a couple of songs from your new album, Bug Out, which, if you have a kid and you're watching this, there's the album. It is simultaneously written for adults and kids. That's one of the things that I love about Caspar Babypants concerts. I've been to them myself. I have no children. I'm in my 40s, and I can have a great time at a Caspar show.
Yeah, I make these albums for me. I mean, I put on my own albums in the car, and I'm just like, this is the greatest music I've ever heard, because it's for me, and I'm a grown up. So yeah,
I love it. Well, you were so kind to record you playing Babies Driving a Car, which is a track we've got right now. And do you care if we cut away to that?
No, let's cut away, and then we can talk about that a little bit. And This is me live in the studio. This is well, we'll talk about it after, but this is a live version. So
live to tape. Cut it away, Adam. 3, 2, 1, and.
Baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Top down, zipping around like a shooting star. Baby's flying a jet. Baby's flying a jet. Baby's flying a jet. Baby's flying a jet. As high and fast as a baby in a jet can get. Baby's on a motorbike. Baby's on a motorbike. Baby's on a motorbike. Baby's on a motorbike. Past the speed of sound at the speed of light. One of these days this baby will slow down. One of these days this baby will chill out. But that day is not today. 'Cause right about now baby's driving a train. Baby's driving a train. Baby's driving a train. Baby's driving a train. Town to town in the sun and in the rain. Baby's driving a boat. Baby's driving a boat. Baby's driving a boat. Baby's driving a boat. Swimming from port to port, man, the baby can't float. Baby's skating on skates. Baby's skating on skates. Baby's skating on skates. Baby's skating on skates. Round and round in a giant figure eight. One of these days this baby will slow down. One of these days this baby will chill out. But that day is not today. 'Cause right about now baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Baby's driving a car. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, and that was Baby's Driving a Car. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Well, rather than us introducing it, we agreed that we would just play the song Baby's Driving a Car from your new album, Bug Out. And then you would share a little bit about it.
Yes. Sorry, my telephone my little alarm telling me to take my vitamins just went off. So,
well,
I'll take my vitamins later.
Yeah, give us some vitamins around how you made that song, and I just, it's so joyful. It's so fun to listen to.
Well, I'm working on a video for that song right now, and it's super fun. I'm doing all the drawings. I'll show you some actually before we sign off. But
no, please do. Now's a great time. Do you have them handy?
I do. I'm powering up my iPad right now. I'm doing them in Procreate on my iPad. So that song is old, really old, and it started out its life as a song called Piglet and Me, and it was about me and my son when my son was just a little tiny bean baby. And I wrote a lot of songs for my son when he was tiny. I'd put him on a blanket and I'd sit next to him and just strum my guitar and improvise songs about how much I loved him. And so I made up this song that went, Piglet and me, little piglet and me. And it was about just us running around. But the lyrics were very thin. Just, if it meant something to me, but it wouldn't mean anything to other people. So my challenge with that one was, over the years, I've constantly tried to put new lyrics to it. And it just didn't really fit. Nothing fit. And then I finally just landed on let me just tap into the energy of it. Baby's driving. The idea that like a baby is just like maniacally driving cars, driving boats, just a baby just doing what it can't do, which is have autonomy and be free to just like bust a move all over the world. So it fit the energy of the music, and it just all of a sudden became like, there it is, click. But my son is 23, so that took 23 years to write.
Wow.
Believe it or not. It sounds like I made it up in 5 seconds, but that's the result of 23 years of pondering. I mean, not like every day, but it was always in the back of my mind, like, gotta finish that song. So.
That's a good one to finish. But I think that's an incredible, that both is inspiring and informational. It's inspiring in the fact that you've finished a piece of music. And it's also, there's this tactical aspect of it. Like, that is what process looks like. You have a process. You've got a way to save material and to revisit it, a commitment to the material after 23 years. I love that. And most of us want to make something in 5 minutes. I remember I went from oil paints to acrylics to photography because oil paints were way too slow. Acrylics a little bit faster. As soon as I got to photography, I was like, yes. It's like, now, immediate. I just like you said, raw poo. And
that's different for everybody. Some people have the patience. I remember being in art school and they're, doing like, printmaking or something with all these steps and letting out chemicals and the processes and timing and everything. And well, even back then for me, I did photography, but photography back then was, SLRs and hours in the dark room, and I didn't have the patience for that either. That's why I gravitated back towards music, because it's like, prang, there it is. Here's the baby driving a car. Well, I'm working on animating it in my on a laptop, but I'm doing all the drawings and stuff in Procreate. So there's baby flying a jet.
This is like a 360 experience, right? You're arranging all your own music, you're writing all your own music, you're recording it in the studio, you're making the videos. How important was that? Because when you're part of a band, even if you're the sort of the band lead, you're still a part of a band, right? And for the first 22 years of your career with the President of the United States, now you're doing everything. How much of that was a control thing? How much of that was a creative thing? Personality? How do you look at that?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I was a sideman for Beck before the Presidents broke too. So I've kind of been a sideman. I've been the lead singer, and now I'm the solo guy. And I think the end result of the whole journey is that I've discovered that I really am not supposed to be in a band. I have a vision, and I want to pursue bringing that vision to life at any expense. Like, if it takes 23 years to write a silly song like Baby's Driving a Car, so be it. I'm not going to rush it out because the bass player wants it to be on the record or whatever. I guess I equate it to, like, I'm more like a painter or a sculptor when it comes to making music. More of a solo endeavor, more of a vision that I have that I'm really trying to like make real. And a lot of times when I record, I'll throw too much stuff on the song. Like Baby's Driving a Car had more guitars when I just let myself go nuts. Like I'll put everything on that I think. And then later I go back and I have what I learned from Nancy Wilson from Heart. She has this concept. She says mixing is called a mute party. So you just start muting. Like, what can I get rid of? Let me lose this. Let me lose that. Typically I will lose like a lot of percussion, a lot of distorted guitars, a lot of like banjo, mandolin kind of stuff. Cause I imagine that family who's listening to the CD to try to elevate their mood in the car or at home, they don't want a lot of notes. They don't want a lot of layers. They want just like something that's like well constructed and kind of focused, but energetic. So that razor sharp edge where I've got to hit all that and I've got to hit something that's good for a baby and good for a grown up. And all this like chemistry is slow going and it's ruthless. I'll get to the end of a process and I'll be like, all right, all guitars out. It turns out it needs to be a piano. So I don't have to explain that to the guitar player, which there's no egos to step on. And that really helps. Because I can be ruthless. Sometimes I'm disappointed, but given enough time, I'll forget that I spent all day doing that guitar solo, and I'll just be like, it doesn't fit. Let's cut that part out. So, yeah, it's about time and being ruthless and being focused.
Well, I would love to hear another track if you're okay with that. I think
okay.
we've got 3 in total that we lined up. The next one is called Hand in Hand, and I'll let you introduce this song, give us a little bit of color, and then we'll fade right into that track.
Okay, it's another old song, old idea. Lyrics didn't fit for a long time. It was kind of a nasty love song. And I eventually made it about, the idea that humanity is interconnected without being too on the nose about it, I hope. And so, Sirius XM Radio hooked onto this song when I gave them the record at first because of what was going on in the world. So it's a little bit of a, I hope it's a little bit of a helping hand for people to feel like we are all hand in hand.
Let's check it out.
This song has a little clapping part for you guys to do. It's a quick little 2-clap. It goes like this. Clap, clap. All right, I'll show you where to do the clap, clap, and then you can do the clap, clap. Okay? Here we go. Woo! Like the world needs outer space so it can spin. Like the rivers need the snow to melt into them. I can feel love holding the whole thing together. And I'm happy to be by your side. Woo! Hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, you got it. Like the trees need a seed to begin to grow. Like the valleys need high hills so they stay low. I can feel love holding the whole thing together. And I'm happy to be by your side. Hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand. Breakdown. Air needs light to make it glow. Music needs the radio. Now needs the past and tomorrow. We need time to go by slow. And I'm happy to be by your side. Woo! Go! Hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap, clap. Hand in hand, we're hand in hand, clap.
Yes.
Ah.
Amazing. Amazing. You've got this like 2-minute track when we were playing Babies Driving a Car. It was just like there's an 80s punk aspect to it. Or just,
yeah.
you know,
Baby driving a car. Oh yeah, totally. It reminds me. That one still makes me think about like late or early 80s punk rock. You know, when do they work? Da, 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 da. You know, where they get all angry for about 40 seconds.
Now,
yeah.
you made a comment about you didn't want Hand in Hand to be too on the nose about these time, about how we're sort of all in this together. But why are you worried about that? I think that's
I think
really
lyrically, well, I just mean lyrically, I always want to paint a picture, like give someone an image. I don't want to just say, we're here for each other, kind of, you know, we are the world. I want to, you know, I have the, you know, the rivers need the valleys need the hills, so they stay low, like things that need each other, but aren't necessarily people holding hands. You know, it's like interdependency of, you can't have light without the dark. You can't have high without the low. It's all hand in hand, that kind of thing.
So, and you said that, earlier that was a long unfinished track. Another one, is this also 20 years in the making?
Pretty much, yeah. It was kind of an angry love song for my former wife, because we were married and hand in hand, but we weren't really hand in hand. And so originally it was kind of like a Rolling Stones, you know, Miss You era kind of. Like I actually tuned my guitar like Keith Richards and did this like jagged kind of hand in hand, chica, hand in hand. It's kind of mad. And then I actually used to work with an organization called Wellspring Family Services, and we had a program that we did together for a while called Kids Helping Kids, and it was designed to introduce children to philanthropy. It was inspired by one little girl who went door to door collecting change for Wellspring, and then it's kind of blossomed into this idea of kids being philanthropic. And every year we'd pick a random name out of a hat, and one participant would get a custom Caspar Babypants song written just for them about whatever they want. And the girl that won that year, I rewrote Hand in Hand to be a kinder, gentler song for her, and then ended up scrapping those lyrics because they were more specific to her, and then writing another set of lyrics, which is what you heard, which is about the sort of universal idea of interdependency.
Well, it sounds... everything is a remix, right? Like there's this, like, but reflect on that, help, because most people think I don't have anything to say, or I don't have enough material. Give us some guidance.
Well, you know, in the early 2000s and late 90s, I got really into DJ culture and sampling and all that kind of, you know, electronic music, and I noticed that stuff flexes and moves. Like, you know, somebody released like the January 2001 mix and then the February 2004 mix, and the music seems to be plastic and malleable and not fixed. And I grew up with these guys, and these guys were, it seemed to me, all about the ultimate version. You know, like it was precious. It was baked in stone. Like that guitar's just exactly right, and you know, constructed. And so I struggled with that for years. I remember I would do demos of songs, and I wasn't satisfied with the final version unless it had every little bell and whistle that the demo had, you know, perfectly reproduced. And then I got free of that when I got into the sampling thing and DJ culture and all that. And then I decided to apply that to my own songwriting and allow songs to breathe. And that's part of why I like playing these live versions for you today, and why I have the Caspar Babypants Tiny Song Jukebox on my website, is that I've noticed over the years that the live versions of the songs even turn into a new thing, you know? So allowing that to happen has been freeing and relaxing for me, instead of the other way, which is like this intense kind of pressure to reproduce exactly what the demo or the early version had. But ironically, what's cool about recording in computer land is that you get to actually, like on Termite, again, the third song on the record, I took that actual sound of me playing the Doombeck from 23 years ago or whatever it was, and used it in the final song. So I actually was able to use the actual vibe of the demo in the final thing. So it's this funny mix where the technology sort of turned me on to the idea that nothing's really done, but you can also take the exact moment of inspiration and have it be involved in the final product.
That's
So it's
but
pretty cool.
There's so much wisdom in there. And two questions before I want to cut to a third song. Question one is and I'm thinking of this regardless if you're a musician, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're building a product, a business, you're creating anything. We often look to inspiration from those who've come before us. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. We want to, as social animals, there's this desire to sort of connect and fit in. And as you said, you held up Sgt. Pepper's, and like that was a near perfect album, right? It's so maniacally precious. And what did it take for you to undo that? Because the temptation when you see someone that you respect and admire, whether on the internet or you love their work or whatever, the obvious thing is to like take that aspect or take all of the aspects of what they did and try and reproduce it, deconstruct it, make it your own. But you need to be like them. And so how did you make it so that your music isn't precious when you look up to the Beatles and respect Peppers and all of the other amazing songs that they've made? That's very different than what you're doing. How do you take homage and do your own thing?
It's kind of both, though. It's actually, you can compartmentalize for the aspects of what you just talked about. For me, can be compartmentalized into the stages of making something. So the early stages is where I allow myself to be totally plastic and free and ruthless, if you will, with the songs. And then the middle stages where I get to make, like, say, okay, the early stages where there's no bad ideas. Anything you think of is cool. Just do it. Just cut your old songs up. Cut a Beatles song up. Imitate your heroes. Do whatever you want. Second stage is you got to find your voice, your own personality in it. You got to maybe focus it a little bit. And the last stage is where I do allow myself to go down that like road toward perfection and like absolute balance. But I don't have that start too early. You want to wait until you've really kind of allowed the idea to kind of become solid before you try to polish it. You can't polish a turd, you got to polish a sphere. So it's got to become a sphere first, and then it's a lot easier to polish. Rather than a jagged poo, like raw poo. You can't polish raw poo. Let's just have that be the banner headline. It just falls apart in your hands, you get it with dirty hands. So yeah, it's allowing all those modes or tones of creativity to have their place. So yeah, from the Beatles, I learned that a perfectly executed, balanced recording is a beautiful thing. But then you can't really get there unless you allow yourself to be free.
Second question, same topic. What is there some discipline that you imply or that you're implying or that you're imposing on yourself in order to maintain that freedom? Because the first thing 9 out of 10 people who are listening or watching right now, the second they put something down on paper or in film or on their camera or anywhere, they're judging it. It's just immediate, like, judge. We have a negativity bias as our species. We culturally start to, comparative. That's how our brain works. Mine is better than hers. She's better than this. Like,
yeah.
How do you not do that? How do you let that raw creativity in phase one exist?
Well, every day I do a sort of deep breathing movement thing called Qigong, and I do meditation. And so I'm always keeping a conduit, a pipeline open to a gear that's in my gearbox, which is deep neutral. So if I go into deep neutral, that's where all that, comparative judgment becomes useless. It's irrelevant. If you go in just mode where you're just enjoying the neutral nature of existence, there's no judgment. And somehow maybe that carries over into my conscious daily toils. And and sort of allows me to let go of judgment when I make something up or record something. Now, that doesn't mean that everything I record I have a neutral reaction to. Sometimes I'll record something and be like, oh, that's amazing. I got to make a song. And just the other day, I recorded a couple things in the studio, things I've been playing on guitar and piano, and listened back. And I was like, that is total garbage. Why did I do that? But I kept it because someday it may be. So I guess it's also allowing judgment to pass through.
Yeah.
Not stopping it, but just seeing it for what it is, which is a construct of ego and, hyper aware consciousness of your relative value to other creative people or other people in general, versus allowing that sensation to go through and realizing that's not who you are. That's not really what that music is about that you just recorded, or that thing you just wrote, or that picture you just took. You can allow it to pass through and then put it away. And then the big one is time. You have to let things sit. You have to let things, grow on their own time. And so walking away, if you feel bad about something, do it anyway and walk away and open that up in 10 years and see what it tells you. You never know.
I love your process so much. We've got Grady coming in from Vancouver Island. Want you to know they're tuning in. Lovelace Williams, Margot Allsbrook. Thanks for chiming in, everybody. If you're just joining us, I'm Chase. Welcome to creativelive.com/TV, where we're sitting here with the one and only Mr. Chris Ballew, head man, Caspar Babypants, former president of the United States of America. We've heard 2 songs on your new kids album, which drops today, called Bug Out. Can we hear a third, Chris?
Bug Out. Which I chose that title before the pandemic, by the way, and it's kind of turned out to be a little prophetic. I mean, there's a bug out, so we can't go out. So, Bug Out.
Amazing.
The last song is, I love this song so much. This is a brand new song. Well, actually, that's kind of not true. This is another, remake. So, my whole life, I have been felt the urge to sing about animals and food and stuff. I have this recording from the late 80s when I was writing kind of like thinky, arty pop songs where it's just me rambling on a guitar and I start singing about chickens and froggies and monkeys. And in the song, I'm like, why am I singing about froggies and monkeys? What the hell is wrong with me? Of course, it turns out later that was the place the presidents came from, but it was something I had an urge to do that I would shut down. So I learned from experience how not to shut down myself. So anyway, I've been singing every time I'm going around the house doing anything. I sing about pickles and onions. I don't know why, but I'm always like, I like pickles and onions, pickles and onions. It's the stupidest thing. But I realized I had never written a song about a pickle or an onion for that matter, but the onion didn't make it into this song. So that'll be the setup. I'll tell you about the genesis of the song, how it arrived once we hear it. But yeah, this song is called Pickle Holiday.
I saw a pickle jump out of a jar. I saw a pickle leave the house. I saw a pickle board a big airplane. I do not understand. I saw a pickle check into a hotel. I saw a pickle swimming in the sea. I saw a pickle on a luxury cruise. I do not understand. I saw a pickle play around with golf. I saw a pickle sleeping on the beach. I saw a pickle eating out at night. I do not understand. I saw a pickle get back on a plane. I saw a pickle fly home to my house. I saw a pickle jump back in the jar. I do not understand. But now I understand. Now I see why it's okay. Now I understand. 2 days of pickle holiday. Pickle holiday. Pickle holiday. 2 days of pickle holiday. Let's go. Bow, 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 bow. Woo! Bow, 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 Now I understand. Now I see why it's okay. Now I understand. 2 days of pickle holiday.
Ta-da!
That is Pickle Holiday.
Ha cha cha cha.
I loved how you threw that to the video, like, no, Pickle Holiday.
Yeah, so I am super proud of that song. It started out as a song called The Monkey. Well, yeah, it started out as a song called The Monkey is a Man. And it didn't make any sense. It's like I saw a monkey, da da da, da, and I rewrote it like 1,000 times. And now I understand the monkey is a man, the monkey is a man. But I don't know, it didn't really work or make sense. What does that mean? The monkey is a man. But again, I just allowed it. I recorded it. I worked on it as the monkey is a man. I moved the ball down the field. I rewrote the lyrics like 4 times. And then I played it for my brother, and he dug it, but he also was like, just imagery. I'm not being shown like a cohesive image. What does that mean? The monkey is a man. So I scrapped all the lyrics and remembered, I walk around all day singing about pickles, so let me try to make it about a pickle. And I had no idea what I was doing. I just started riffing and figuring it out. Finally nailed this idea of a pickle holiday. Then I rewrote it 4 times, trying to get the lyrics to tell the arc of the pickles holiday in the right pacing and with the right imagery. And at first the imagery was all random, like I saw a pickle here, I saw a pickle there, all over. And then I finally settled on it like, okay, I see it getting out of the jar, going to the airport, getting on a plane, hanging out at the beach, and then going back to the jar. So it had to have kind of like a journey. So yeah, this song, I know it sounds dumb. It sounds like the silliest little song that I probably wrote in 2 seconds, but it took, I think, about 2 years to write that song. So yeah, time, people. It's big. It's important.
The arc, not just of the song, but of your creative approach has always inspired me. And if you're just joining us, what Chris is talking about is the ability to create something in, authentic and raw and real, and then process. It's in the edit and the re-edit and the recontemplation of the music. And to be fair, when you wrote a lot of the President's song, they were very playful and joyful, and you talked about having that childlike, she's lump, peaches, millions of peaches, like those are all very playful things.
That's it.
But there's this trust in your ability to do something that you find so genuine and authentic. And a lot of people, when you're standing on stages and huge theaters and arenas, and there are people going crazy for your music, and you're on MTV, the ability to trust yourself and follow it to a children's band and to play the children's aspect of the songs that you made popular on the radio. Like, how did you come to trust that part of yourself?
It really wasn't a question. I mean, when I finally arrived at discovering that it was music for families and babies and kids that I should be making, and I should say, as a side note, a lot of that arrival was due to my wife Kate's artwork. Kate Endel is her name, and she does all my album cover art. She's got this great style, and I looked at her art and I just went, I want to make music that comes from that planet. Where the animals are made out of paper and they're, well constructed and they have these funny little personalities. And so the combination of my search and her artwork landed me there. And so the moment when I discovered that was what I was supposed to be doing, the sensation of lightness, of relief, of arrival was a once in a lifetime sensation. So it was it wasn't, again, like something I sought out. It was something that found me. Well, I guess I sought it out, but I had to be open to it finding me. If I was just really focused and trying to figure it out all the time. I really did try to focus and figure it out for about 15 years, and I never got near it. And it turned out I was standing right next to the solution the whole time. Like the president's success was that innocent core, and that's who I really was. So I was being represented, but I was clouded by other kind of
record labels and management and
that stuff, and also just like I said, the chemistry of a President's song, which was like innocence and innuendo rubbing up against each other. That became something of a burden for me because I couldn't reproduce it because it really wasn't who I was. So anyway, I know it's a long answer, but the idea is that I just, it wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard decision. And it wasn't like I feel like I didn't do it with the end result in mind. I did it with my search being realized, finished in mind. It was a personal thing. Like I had to do it for me. And when you have to do it for yourself and you have to do it because it's what drives you and what makes you feel connected to the world, all that other stuff, like you cited, like how do I go from playing, stadiums with 50,000 people to playing for families? Those are external results of the true chemical process, which is me just trying to figure out who I am and what I should be singing and how I should be interacting with the world with songs, and I've found a way to make songs that make the world, I hope, a better place. They make families happier. They make the parent-child relationship smoother in some cases. I've heard kids with autism and learning disabilities latch onto it because I keep the lyrics nice and clear and the story clear. And so kids who have a hard time with a lot of traditional music that's too busy can really get into it, and that starts language development and stuff like that. So these are all things I could never have thought of, but they're external results of an internal sort of quest.
Incredible. One of the other things that we were exploring before we started recording our conversation today that also I know about you is your tools are simple. You prefer simple tools. You talked about a simple song structure, and a lot of people try and flex their creative muscles by showing how complicated they can make something. You've always, done virtually the opposite of that, including your tools. And there are people who are listening right now that they're putting off recording their album because they don't have enough perfect studio time, or they're not, adding those photos to their portfolio because they don't have the right camera, or the tools are getting in the way. So I know that you've got on your wall to the left of you there, our right, you've got a guitar that I believe you paid $75.
Oh yeah.
And how many albums have you sold with the recording on that guitar?
This is the guitar that's on the President's debut album, and I bought it in a pawn shop in Boston for $75, and it's on a record that sold 5 million copies. So, the tool, of course, now this is the right tool for the job, because when I saw this guitar on the wall, I just said to myself, that some guitars I look at and I know there's songs in them. There's like ghosts in them or something. They have a soul or something. I don't know what it is, but they speak to me. They just go like, liberate me and I will reward you with many, many songs. And then other guitars I look at and they're just like, what? We get some strings and I don't know, you want to play me? I don't know. So yeah, every guitar has its own little personality. This is the original what was a 2-string. It's a 3-string now. But Mark Sandman from Morphine, who showed me the 2-string thing, had this guitar in his studio as a 2-string, and I picked it up and played it. And it was the first time I played a 2-string, and I just went, that's it. I found my home. And about a year before Mark died, he mailed me this guitar in a big cardboard box with no explanation except a note, no warning, just a note that said, you're in charge of this now. And then he died. So this is my Mark Sandman Memorial 3-string.
I saw him that year in Sydney, Australia, in a small little club. It was such a arresting performance, and I'll never forget it. He was quite the performer, and had such a, speaking of like listening to your own true sound, not too many people had put the stand-up bass, the saxophone and the guitar together. It was two instruments, but
it was a 2-string slide bass, electric slide bass, and baritone sax. Yeah. Man. Yeah, it was incredible, and I learned so much from Mark. I mean, he is my musical father. He was my mentor. He super generously took me under his wing. He let me live with him at the time. He was a very private person, but he opened his house to me, showed me all kinds of world music that I was already into, but he kind of helped me figure out why. And he also bought this little figure, I think somewhere in like Brazil or something, and he gave it to me. And so this has been sitting in my studio ever since, and it's sort of him. He's kind of like watching over me. And the other character I have in my studio that I've had forever is this little incredulous rabbit. who has fallen over. Lives on top of my speakers, or it's a she actually, and she's fallen over so many times her ears are broken off. And I used to glue the ears back on, but now I've lost them, and she's lost an eye too. But I like her because she's got her arms crossed, and she's always asking, "Is that the best you can do? Are you really sure that's done? Is there any part of that needs a little bit more care and attention?" So she's like, I gotta make sure Mark's happy and this incredulous rabbit is happy.
Rabbit, now
or
squirrel.
You said earlier, I think maybe it's a squirrel now that it has no ears. So.
Well, it's been a treat to get to see into your home recording studio. Thank you for having us as a guest. The tour of your, I love, again, the simple tools creating things that have sold millions of copies, and it's a great way to debunk the people out there who are delaying starting their creative ambition, whatever that might be. I was wondering if you have any advice for those people who might be stuck.
Yeah, I do it. Just make what you can with what you've got. I mean, I came up in a DIY punk rock world of the early 80s and through the 80s and into the 90s even, where DIY is about no excuses. You're not waiting around for the rubber stamp of approval from the man or the, powers in charge. And that includes the man in your head, the one that tells you're not good enough or you can't do it because you don't have the right tools. I mean, I started making music with a terrible little children's classical guitar and a 4-track back in the 80s, and just did it. I made this record and all of the other records on one laptop with one microphone and an M-Box Pro, and that's it. No outboard gear, no outboard compressors, everything mixed in the box. I didn't go to a studio. I mastered them myself by simply listening to them and going, does that sound good? Yes, it's mastered. So you don't have to, you don't have to live in fear. I think a lot of times it's fear. I've had enough dealings with people in the movie industry to see this kind of like pattern of fear-based decision making where nobody will take a risk. Everyone wants to go down the same path that's already well worn, but there's so many other paths, or there's no paths. You can just walk off the path and go into the desert, and you might find the cactus of your dreams. Uh-oh, there's a song, The Cactus of Your Dreams. The cactus of your dreams is waiting for you out in the desert where you thought you'd never go to. But please take a chance and step off the path. The cactus of your dreams. There you go, The Cactus of Your Dreams. Who knows? We'll be talking in 5 years, and The Cactus of Your Dreams will be a #1 smash hit.
Congratulations on the new album. For those of you who just tuned in a little bit late, I'm please do. I'm with Chris Ballew, Caspar Babypants, former lead for Presidents of the United States of America, longtime friend. It's good to see that you're doing well and still creating prolifically. 17 Caspar albums. New one, Bug Out, drops today. Where do you steer people to pick up the new album? It's so I don't know a friend that has children. Again, I'm the funkle, so I got no kids. Kate and I are kid free, but we're the aunt and the funkle to many, and all of our friends play your music for their kids and with their kids, and it's like ubiquitous. It's like the tricycle. It's seriously, it's so fun.
That's nice to hear. I mean, that's a dream. Again, growing up with the Beatles, and I should mention too, I have a vinyl of all my best Beatles covers, which you can get at Easy Street Records online. That is about to sell out. It's a limited edition, 1,000 copies. Plug. Yeah, it feels super good to approach anything like what the Beatles approach was. This like kind of universal energetic influence. Love. They sang about love, their energy, their casualness, their confidence, their youth. It all kind of like beyond the music, even kind of like, the tentacles reached out and influenced culture. And I'm not saying I'm that, but to have anything even sort of approaching that is super gratifying for me. And I'm really glad it's happening on a family level, because I do feel like, I know you have to go, but I feel like the parent-child relationship being healthy and empathetic is how we're going to change the world. when a child grows up in an environment where they're not afraid or verbally or physically even abused or even the threat of abuse, when they grow up in an environment that's healthy and empathetic, they grow up with a sense of self that allows them to find a way to be productive, creative members of society, versus growing up in an adverse situation where the PTSD, be it low level or high level, really never leaves and kind of steers you into a fear-based relationship with the world. So again, I'm not saying I'm saving the world, but I want to be a piece of the puzzle. I want to be like a drop in the positive side of the scale that tilts things toward empathy and healthy children and healthy adults.
Incredible. Thank you for focusing your talents on an area where we really need to connect with our kids and to give kids something that they can latch onto, as you mentioned a couple of different times, as simple lyrics, but the energy that you, the human, possess, that your music possess. I wanted to say thank you. You've inspired millions, and it's an amazing transition to go again from playing on stages at stadiums to playing for families, and to see the joy of you arriving at this next sort of arc of music for you has been super fun to watch as your friend and as a co-creator of our conversation. So I wanted to say thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
I appreciate that, Chase. And I really appreciate what you do, having this platform and giving creative people a voice to kind of help others. You know, if I'd heard something like this when I was a kid, I probably would have arrived at Caspar Babypants when I was 22. So hopefully this helps people arrive at their natural destination faster. And for that, thank you.
The last thing we want to make sure to plug is this Jukebox concept.
Yes.
Please, I will just step aside and let you explain how you decided to put these songs out there in the world.
Yeah, so during this shutdown, I was having a hard time with the idea of scheduling streaming shows. From inside myself, I was kind of thinking, you know, I sort of need a break from being a happy Caspar guy on command, because that's a part of my personality, but it's not the entire thing. And I also started thinking, because I always think about the family and their experience as users. And I was thinking, well, you know, scheduling a show and having it happen from X, time 1 to time 2, a start and an end, could be problematic, even though people are stuck inside and they have theoretically the whole day. The arc of the day of a family doesn't necessarily accommodate that. So my idea is that I wanted to make a Jukebox, which is basically a YouTube channel full of single song live performances, as if you're at a live show. That families can use to curate their own live Caspar Babypants show at home whenever they want, for as long as they want. You can listen to Stompy the Bear 5 times if you want to. You can maybe discover some songs on there that you didn't know. You can discover some new songs from Bug Out, which I've included. And some of them I introduce with, like, here's the activity we're going to do during the song. Some are just performances. But it gives you a flavor of what it'd be like to be at a show whenever you want it, not when it's scheduled. So that's the idea. It's hopefully, and it fits me, it fits how I want to interact, and it fits my perfection level, because I'll retake these songs like 20 times to get them right, to get it where I kind of nail it. And, so it's, it scratches my sort of perfectionist itch as well a little bit.
Well, thank you for making that. Yeah. Where would you steer people to check that out?
I would steer people to babypantsmusic.com as a place to kind of go in and check out everything. You can check out the new album. You can check out the Tiny Song Jukebox. You can check out the virtual merch table, which is my wife, Kate. Since we can't do shows, she does an amazing merch table spread, but we can't do that now. So she has a virtual merch table there on the website, which you can visit. And I believe we're going to be taking pre-orders. We're going to set it up today to take pre-orders for the CD. The CD itself is coming out on the 8th, but we'll take pre-orders on the website, and we can sign and customize them for you. So look for that maybe a little later today. Kate and I got to set that up.
Amazing.
So all things Caspar, babypantsmusic.com.
Well, the chat room is going crazy. Grady Lawler's in there a lot. Thanks, Grady. Teresa from Virginia.
All right.
Andy, Kenna, we got a lot of folks saying thank you so much, and it's been amazing to see into your process. We'll steal people to Babypants Music. Dennis wants to know where you can go check it out. That's at babypantsmusic.com. And of course, he said, I missed this thing. Well, we'll replay it here at creativelive.com/TV. So come back and check it out. Mr. Ballew, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm
Thank you.
so happy to spend time with you, even though we're like 2 miles apart as the crow flies. Thanks for letting us into the studio that you built with your own bare hands behind your house. Stay safe and stay healthy. Give my best to Kate.
I will.
Thank you so much for being on the show, bud. Congratulations on the new album, Bug Out. Go check it out, folks. I'm Chase Jarvis signing out with Mr. Chris Ballew. Have a great day, everybody.